Well, welcome, students in Year 11, Year 13, and those of you in Year 12 who are due to sit exams this summer. And welcome also to any parents who might be watching this presentation. I really hope you find it useful and it answers many of the questions that you may have about how grades are going to be awarded this summer. Last time I did one of these presentations, it was in January, and the school was a quiet, lonely place, very strange. Now students are back and we're delighted. School's all the better for it. And what I want to do in this next few minutes is really try and reassure you about the process that is in place to make sure you get the grades you deserve this summer, and to reassure you that this school has worked and is going to work extremely hard to make sure you get the right grades. So, what is the way forward? Well, I'm going to show you the way forward. This picture sums up where we are at the moment. I think in many ways we can see a brighter horizon, but the path to get there could be tricky. As in this image, it could be slippery, could be steep, could be uneven. There could be potential bits of trouble along the way. What I want to do in this assembly is show you that we do have a way forward to get to that bright light, to get you safely and successfully to the next stage of your education. So, how will your grades be awarded? Well, you probably heard through the media that grades will be decided by teachers, and this is in all your exam subjects. There will be no exams here at Sandwich Technology School this summer. You won't be going into the hall in large numbers. There are no exams. Instead, teachers have to make decisions and award your grade, but as you can see from the third bullet point, it's got to be based on firm evidence. More of that in a moment. We have to provide the grades to the exam boards by June the 18th, and you'll see in a moment what that means in terms of dates, because we've got a lot of work to do to make sure that we're ready to meet that deadline on June the 18th. So what sort of evidence will teachers use to decide what your grade is? Well, it's a number of things. It's not just one thing. And I think that's really good. And you should be pleased about that and feel positive about that. Because it means that if you do badly in one form of evidence, there's other things that can make up for that. In late March, we're going to receive some sample materials from the exam boards. All departments are going to be using those. We feel that's absolutely the right way to go because they're a very reliable source of evidence from the exam boards. They're going to give us mark schemes, guidance on how to use them, and we're going to give all of you an opportunity to answer some of those questions. We can also use, and will be using, past paper questions though, that you've done in class. Ones that you're doing now, about to do, ones you'll be doing over the next few months, but also in some subjects, ones you've done in the past as well. What we do have to make sure is we're fair and consistent, so the evidence we're using for one student has to be used for everyone across the board, but we will and can use past paper questions. Coursework is a source of evidence. Any records of practical performances, maybe in drama or music that we have, for those of you who do those subjects, that can be used. And also another source of evidence we can look back on, we keep very detailed academic records. So we can also look back to Year 10 and Year 9 and use that to make a decision in part about the grade we want to give. Will your grades be fair? Yes, I can absolutely assure you that we've got lots in place to make sure we do this properly, we do it fairly. We're not interested in doing this half-heartedly, we're going to do it very thoroughly. Firstly, your teachers are best placed to see what you know and can do. They know you best, and they're the ones who are going to be looking very closely over these next few weeks as well to see what you know and can do. You're going to know what evidence we're using as well. Before you finish here, we're going to share with you the evidence we've based your grade on. We can't share that grade, we're not allowed to before we give it to the exam board, but we will tell you what evidence we've been using, so we'll be very open and transparent in that. One of the things that will happen later in the year is that at least some of your work will be marked by a different teacher. that is a useful check. So it means it's not all absolutely done by your teacher. So again, it just adds that extra safeguard that you should feel happy about. Every subject team, they're going to sit down in the summer and they're going to do some moderation. That means they're going to check the grades that they're giving across the department to make sure that one person isn't too high, someone else isn't too low, so that it's done fairly. And then senior teachers are going to be checking grades, line managers in each subject, and I also would be playing a role looking very carefully at the grades that are being submitted and making sure that they're fair, they are based on what you know and can do, and that we've got it right. And if all of that wasn't enough, we're also going to be checked by the exam boards. They'll be asking to look at some of the evidence we've been using, and they'll look at it and check that we're doing things properly. And there's lots of things we've got to prove to them that we're doing. So what I'd say to all students and any parents watching this as well, there is a lot in place to make sure we do this properly. And we have absolutely no intention of doing it in any other way. This will be fair, it'll be very thorough and very robust in the way that we do it. Some students may feel that you haven't done so well in the past. I know you've missed, some of you have missed a lot of time in school. You may not have done so well in year 10 and year 9, and you may be thinking, what's the point? It's too late. No, it isn't. And it's never too late. The evidence we're using can be used from the whole course, but one thing we've been guided on by the government is that it's the most recent evidence that should carry the most weight. So what you're doing now and what you do next month and in May will have the greatest influence upon your grade. So don't sit there worrying about the past. Look to the future. It's what you do now moving forward which will have the greatest influence. Nobody can change the past, but we can all change the future. And that's what you need to start doing now. Coursework will continue. You should complete what you can. You don't have to finish. Teachers will. If you haven't been able to finish for reasons that are not your fault, teachers will still use that to base your grade upon. What we need to remember is that teachers are making a balanced judgment here. It's not all about the past. It's based on a range of evidence. It's not all based on one test or one thing. And it's certainly, if you haven't done one in the past, you've got a great opportunity here to change things. And I'm a big believer in change. You've got a chance to change here if things haven't gone too well in the past. Results day, we're told that it's Tuesday 10th of August for year 13 and Thursday the 12th of August for year 11 and others of you who are doing GCSE subjects. You can appeal your result if you're not happy. You can firstly ask us to check for any errors that there might be. If we do that check and you're still not happy, you can ask us to appeal to the exam board. But remember that all these grades are going to be based on evidence. So be certain before you do any appealing, because the evidence would have to back you up. Because if we send the evidence off to the exam board, they could actually move you down as well as moving you up. So there is an appeals process, but you'd have to think about it very carefully, because there is a risk that the exam board could downgrade you. You could go up or down if you ask us to send your work off to the exam board. So what is this school doing? What's Sandwich Technology School doing about it? Well, look, what I want to make very clear, I had a very positive meeting with heads of department this afternoon. We have some incredibly strong heads of department. We all want to work with you. We want you to get the grades you deserve. We want you to move successfully to the next stage of your education. And whilst we can't do the work for you, and we can't let you cheat, we're going to give you every chance. We're going to remove barriers and let you show us what you can do. We want to be positive. Every 2 weeks, your teachers will be asking you to do an exam-style question in class, an extended question or a coursework task on what you've been learning. So we'll be building up evidence. So working well in lessons is absolutely crucial. And what this means is that by May the 17th, as we've been doing something and gathering things every 2 weeks, we'll have 4 really good pieces of evidence that we can use as part of our decision making. Then between May the 17th and May the 28th, we're going to just change the timetable slightly and give you the chance, where required, for departments to give you a longer question to do, so you can really show us what you're capable of doing. Teachers will support you and guide you in preparation for these questions, and that'll give us some extra evidence as well. So by May the 28th, we'll have had the 4 bits that you've done, bits that you're doing every 2 weeks, and then a longer answer, some longer answers as well. So we'll have a really good bit of evidence there, and we can then, of course, also look back at things you've done before as well and make a judgment based on all of that. Why should you be feeling positive? I don't want to hear any negativity, because you really should be feeling positive about this, and I'm going to give you some reasons why. Firstly, though the work has to be your own, you don't have to go into the hall. You haven't got what other year groups have had to go through, 3.5 weeks of going into that exam hall, exam conditions. A lot of people suffer with nerves, and every year there are some students who don't do as well because the hall kind of scares them a little bit. You won't have that. So that's a reason to be cheerful, a reason to be positive. You're going to do the work you produce that we base your grades on, in part. You're going to be doing it in lessons, and teachers will help you prepare. You'll know what's coming. You'll know what the topics are. And whilst you've still got to do the work yourself, you'll have an idea of the sort of thing that's going to be in that question we asked you to do. Again, we want to work with you. We want to remove barriers where we can and are allowed to do so. And I think you should be positive that the grade doesn't rely on just one thing. If it just relies on a test, there's a lot of pressure there. Every 2 weeks you do one of these pieces of work, go for it and just give it your best shot. And you shouldn't feel nervous, because you've then got another chance and another chance and another chance. And we're basing it on a range of things. So you should be feeling positive. There shouldn't be those feelings of pressure every time you do something. Surely all of this has to be better than a full exam season where you could be tested on absolutely anything, any part of the course. So look, we really should be feeling positive. It may not feel that way, but there are lots of ways in which this is going to be better for you than under normal circumstances. Here's an idea of what's coming up in terms of timelines. Obviously 8th of March to 1st of April, we're welcoming you back. We're getting you back into the habits of being in the classroom again. And you'll do 2 pieces of work. We'll have gathered those by the 1st of April when we break up for the Easter holidays. When you come back on the 19th of April, term 5, there'll be at least 2 further assessments, bits of work that you do for your teachers. The teachers are building up this knowledge about you, this portfolio of work that we can then use to help decide our grade. And then, as I said, from the 17th of May, we've got what we're calling a wider assessment window. It's not mock exams, we're not going in the hall, but there's a chance for you to really show us what you know and the skills you've got by doing a wider question in the classroom with your teachers. We've then got a final marking and moderation on the 7th to the 11th of June. The teachers really need the time and the space to make sure we're doing things properly, we're quality assuring everything, and making sure that the grades we're giving are the right ones. And then from the 14th to the 18th of June, we have to do our final checks and get everything submitted. For most students, your time with us will finish on the 28th of May. We may need you after that, and we'll give you good warning if we need you after that, but provisionally, the plan is that after the 28th of May, the teachers are going to need that time to make sure that all this work you've done is marked, moderated, and is of the right standard, and matches the grades that we're giving you. I think some of you are going to do really well this summer, and you're going to be really pleased. I think the majority of you will actually do better than you would have done under normal circumstances. Some of you sadly won't do as well. I want to be very clear now about who won't do well and who will. And what I want to make clear to you all is that it's within your control. Your actions over these next few months will be the main thing that decides the grade you get. It's all down to you, okay? The people who won't do well all across Britain, and sadly, there will be some of these people. If you're someone who doesn't listen to instructions, if you're talking when the teacher's talking, you're not going to know what you've got to do. If you don't work to your best, you don't try, or you couldn't be bothered, you're not going to do very well. There's nothing complicated about this. If when the teachers give you these tasks to do, you don't do them or hardly do any of it, you're not going to do well. We cannot award grades without evidence. Teachers will not and cannot do it. And if you've hardly completed anything, and the records of what we got from the past don't show much either, we cannot give you that grade. Because if we do, the exam boards could find out and they'd challenge it. We can't do that. We're not allowed. So look, if you're one of the people that's on the screen at the moment, get it sorted out right now, because you're not going to get decent grades with that approach. And sadly, there are people across this country who won't do well because they can't do these simple things. Who will do well? If you're someone if you listen to what your teachers tell you to do, you're going to be fine. If you try hard, you're going to be absolutely fine. If when the teacher says, right, we're doing this question, you do it, and you give it everything you've got, you're going to be fine. And remember, we've got this broad range of evidence we can base our decisions on. So be confident and go for it. The vast majority of you fit into this category. You're going to do well. Cast aside worries, fears. I hope I've explained the process. If you can do these simple things I've put on this slide here, you're going to be absolutely fine. Remember, we want to work with you. The past has been very difficult for you, but it's gone now, and we need to look forward. And I hope what I've shown in this assembly is that if you're positive and you work with your teachers and you listen carefully to what they're asking you to do, you're going to give yourself every opportunity to get the grades you need to move to the next stage of your education. If you have any questions, please do get in touch with me. But in the meantime, please rest assured that we're going to do things very thoroughly here at Sandwich Technology School. And I really look forward to you doing well and hopefully seeing you in person to congratulate you on a sunny results day in August.